Hi, I'm Austin, and I'm a full-time Google Ads manager. Today I'm going to show you how I set up product feeds for my clients' e-commerce stores using DataFeedWatch. DataFeedWatch is a product feed tool that allows you to download all the product data from your store and then to edit and clean and change it so that it's completely ready to send over to channels like Google Merchant Center or Microsoft Merchant Center or to Facebook or Instagram as product feeds. I personally prefer DataFeedWatch because it's so easy to use and it is also extremely flexible. So it's so easy that, in fact, today I'm going to walk you through from start to finish setting up a product feed for a sample Shopify apparel store. All right, let's get started. To begin, you can either visit DataFeedWatch and set up an account, or in my case, I'm using a Shopify sample store. This is my Shopify sample shop trail map apparel. And of course, the other way to do that with Shopify is just to visit the App Store and install the app from there, which I've done. There it is. And so at this point, I'm going to go back to DataFeedWatch to the Add a Shop section. In fact, let me jump back and show you where that is. You can ignore these other stores. These are other accounts that I manage feeds for. I'm going to click Add a Shop. And then I'm going to name the shop, Trail Map Apparel. And I'm going to tick Apparel. Now, it's worth pointing out that this is not for you if you don't primarily sell apparel, which would be clothes and jewelry. I don't know why jewelry's in there, but if you just sell one or two shirts or a hat or two, but you primarily sell something else, then definitely don't tick this option because you'll be required to add a lot more data that you wouldn't have had to add otherwise. So I'm an apparel store, so I'm going to choose that. And then I'm on Shopify, so if you're on another store, obviously you can see that here. The setup is a little bit different for some of these other ones, but it's not that different that I'm going to show you how to on each of the different carts. So I'm going to do Shopify. And now for the Shopify store, this is not this URL. You want that My Shopify URL. So if you're not on Shopify, sorry, this is a side note. I've got to show the Shopify users. So if you do what I just did, I did inspect and then I did view page source. And I'm just going to search for the My Shopify address. I often forget that. Drop that there. Okay. Next tab. Now I'm the shop owner, so I'm going to click this. All right, I'm going to update the app. Although I've installed it, I still have to update it, so I'll just click that. If you're doing this afresh, you probably won't do that step. All right, now I'm going to check these options. So I've got to select my time zone, Eastern time zone, that's where I'm at. This doesn't really matter, select update times. You can add more updates, but that's not really necessary for most stores. In fact, I won't even talk about that in this video. So I've got my time zone selected. That is important. And then I'm going to click Next. All right, now we're downloading the product data. So what's happening is DataFeedWatch, through this app that we've installed, is going to download all the product data into DataFeedWatch, and that's where we're going to work on it. So right now I'm going to pause this and come back once it's ready. All right, now the products are ready, so I'm going to click Continue, and now I'm going to set up the internal fields in this shop. Now, it's important to know what an internal field is because it's going to look confusing in a minute here, because we're going to set up all of these fields. So you can see this is the title, and we can do things in DataFeedWatch like changing the title. So by that I mean we could, for example, combine the title, and then I want to add the color option, space between the two. And this is just to show you, look, we've got the input field right here, which is men's Appalachian Trail map print t-shirt. The color is navy. These are the two input fields, and then the outcome value, based on what I just did there, was men's Appalachian Trail map print t-shirt plus the color navy. So this is the outcome value of the title after this operation that I did in here. Let me change this back to how it was because we don't want to change that just yet. But back to what I was saying about internal fields. So these are the internal fields. What you'll need to do is come through and just check that these all look right. So here's the description. You can see a lot of HTML in here, which I'd like to get rid of. So let me grab a piece of code to throw in here really quickly. Okay, so I'm going to add, this is not actually entirely necessary, but I want to do this. So I'm going to do remove single value because I want to get rid of that HTML that was in the description. So I'm going to drop in this code. I'll put it in the description below in case you want to do this yourself. Then I'm going to click use regular expression because that's what this is. This is a regular expression that will find any HTML, and then the mapping type here option is going to remove that HTML. So I'll click done, check this again. All right, so again, we've got the input field, which is the body HTML from Shopify. And then here I've applied that edit change, and now I've got the outcome value, which is the product description minus all that HTML. Now, Merchant Center automatically will remove this HTML for you. At least Google Merchant Center will. So you don't necessarily have to do this, but I don't know that every single price comparison engine is going to do that for you. So I always say just to clean that up here and there. So we're done. All right, so now we've got the rest of the fields, and this will depend on your store, what you need to change in here. So for example, you might need to double check the brand. Mine's pretty simple. All my brands are just Trail Map Apparel. And I can see right now this is kind of messy. I don't want those dashes in there, so let's change that. So I'm going to add a static value, and I'm going to call it Trail Map Apparel. That's the brand. View. Yeah, that's the brand I want. Okay, so again, as I was saying, there's a lot more things that you might do differently in here depending on your store, but I have an apparel store, and apparel stores almost always have, let's click into this example, they almost always have a color and a size, and I need to add that here. So I'm going to add an internal field. I'm going to call the first one color. Select rename, and I'm going to click in this drop-down field, and you've noticed there's a lot of options in here in these drop-down fields. What this is, these are all the fields that DataFeedWatch found within your Shopify product data, and if you're looking for something, just start typing it in, and oftentimes it'll just be there ready to go. So color option, that's probably what I need. Click preview. Yes, got navy, that's the color. I can click through these previews more to see more products, and I can see more of my colors. So that's good. Now let's do the size option. Size, game, size option, preview it, and then I've got my sizes. Okay, that's good. Now, one more thing I'm going to add here is the age group. I just know from doing this that that all apparel shops in Google Shopping need to have an age group. So what I'll do is I'm going to just put in, well, first I'll check if it's there, and it probably won't be, and I'm right, there's not an age group ready to go, but that's fine. This is where DataFeedWatch really comes in handy with some of these other features over here on the side. So I'm going to click if, and I'm going to start making a rule to assign the age group to a product based on the product's title. So I'm going to select static value, age group, bolt. And I'm going to select the title. What I'm doing here is I'm going to make a rule that says if the title includes, actually rather doesn't include, and then I'm going to find something about my title that would indicate whether or not it's a adult or a kid's age group product. So boys and girls are in the title of all my kids sizes. So I'm going to put if the title does not include boys or girls, then add a static value adult. Else, add a static value kids. Now, I've got to double check here. We're putting in fields that need to be just so in Merchant Center, and I can't quite remember off the top of my head if kids is the right word to use for a youth shirt. So I'm just going to do what I always do in this case. I'm just going to Google Merchant Center attribute, and then I'm going to type in the attribute that I'm interested in, which is age group. The first result's almost always going to be a definition of the attribute that we're looking at. And I'm just going to scroll down, and I'm sorry, I'm going to go kind of quickly here, but I'm seeing that there's an adult and there's a kids. So what's a kids? It's a 5 to 13-year-old product, and it's kids, and it's all lowercase. So let's go back and actually change that. You're an adult. You're a kid. Let me check this one more time. So kids is plural, adult is singular. Kids is plural, adult is singular. So I'm good. All right, so you can go through this and check this all out for yourself. I'm going to point out two more things quickly. For stores on Shopify in particular that have variants, so what's a variant? That's a different size or color option. So watch this as I change the size and the color, that variant changes. Now, I want to submit this URL with this variant to Google Merchant Center in this case, because when someone clicks on a product ad for the Navy XL variant, I don't want them to end up on, say, for example, the Navy extra small variant. I want them to end up right on this variant. All right, so check this out. Back in Edit, I'm going to do, instead of URL, I'm going to type in variant URL. I'll preview that. Okay, now that's what I want. I've got the variant at the end. You'll see that this will get changed later, so don't worry about that just yet. The last thing I'm going to do here, and this is a little tricky, I'm going to unlock this, and I'm going to do something different with the ID. And this is just for, just in case you've been using another product feed tool. So for example, if I was using the Google product feed tool right here, or rather this one, just to be sure you recognize it, what this one will do for your product ID is it's just going to submit the variant ID, which is, remember, that's this guy. Okay, but I want to, sorry, I've set that wrong. So what some apps will do is they'll make a different ID out of your variant and your parent and your child ID. I want to duplicate that here. You don't have to read into this too much right now, but all you need to know is that I'm going to change this so that I have it the way I want it. No, variant ID. Oh, whoops, let's see. I'm adding a separator, which is an underscore, and then I'm going to click preview. Just from experience, I know that this is the ID that I want to use, so it's a combination of the ID plus the variant ID plus the Shopify prefix, which I did wrong again. Let me just fix that. It should be _US. All right, that's what I want. So again, I won't go deep into this because of a lack of time, but that's how I want my variant to look, or sorry, my item ID to look in my Google Merchant Center account. So I'll leave some notes on that in the comments or in the description below. So, okay, right, for now we're done with the internal field, so I'm going to click Finish. And now I'm going to create a channel. A channel would be Google Shopping or Microsoft or Facebook. Those are channels. So I'm going to select settings for a new channel. This is Google Shopping. And now I'm going to put in the actual website. So that's this part. I'm going to put that here. And then you can rename your feed if you want. I don't care. I'm just going to keep that as Google Shopping US. Add a channel. And now I'm going to map those internal fields that I just made. See those back here, internal fields. Well, now I'm in channels, so I'm going to map those internal fields right here to the fields that I'm going to send to Google. So like I said, it looks like we're doing this again. We already did it before for the most part. So you can see here's my ID that I updated. Here's the product, the description. The only thing that's changing here is that now DataFeedWatch is using some regular expression code to get rid of the My Shopify URL and replace it with the normal URL, because that's what we need to do in this case. And DataFeedWatch automatically did that for us. Okay, so since I've done most of this stuff, I don't really have a lot of work to do here. I do have to do age group, And I'm going to use rename, and I'm going to use the age group that we set up before. And I'm going to do the same with color. We already set this up in internal fields, so I'm going to choose that. And I didn't do gender in the internal fields, and I could have, but I'll do it here. So let's use a rule again. So I'm going to do rename. Oh, sorry, I'm going to use add a static value if. And I'm going to make some rules using the title. So title. So if the title includes women, that's how I have products named on the store. A women's product starts with the word women's. And then I'm just going to make a mental note, girls and boys starts with girls and boys. Okay, so add a static value female if the title includes women. And then, or another rule, I'm going to do add a static value, and I'm going to do male, and then I'm going to do if the title includes men. And then what I could do for the last one is else rename, or sorry, add a static value unisex, just in case there's some other shirts on the store that are unisex and don't say men or women in the title. So I'll add that there for now, and then I'm going to preview to make sure that what I did makes sense. And I already know that I missed those boys and girls shirts because they don't contain the word men or women. And so after this preview loads, I'm going to fix that. Looks like I'm stuck, so let me get this unstuck and start again. So now I'll preview what I've done. And I can see that this is looking right. And I can click through more to check more again. So the one thing I mentioned I need to do, I have to do or girl, and then or boy, to make sure that the t-shirts that start with girl or boy or contain that in the title get labeled correctly too. And I won't even check that because I already know that this is going to work correctly. So, all right, so we're done here. All this is good, all this is good. And then I'm just going to check for anything that might be wrong. All right, so the last thing I know I need to do, I just remember from doing this quite a bit that the price field that we send to Google Merchant Center, it can't look like this. It has to have the currency code at the end. So in this case, that would be USD. So I'm going to add a suffix. Suffix is a piece of text that's appended to the end. I'm just going to put space, add that space in there. USD, so done. Preview. And that's the accepted value. And then I believe I've got a sale price in here. Let's see. Oh, okay, I don't have another price in here, so we're good. Okay, so now we're done with this. One last thing to show you. Remember how when I added these in the internal fields, for example, age group, if you add something back in the internal field section and you select add a static value, DataFeedWatch won't automatically suggest the Google accepted values. But if you add these pieces of data here in the mapping section, now DataFeedWatch knows that we're making a feed for Google. And so whenever you choose add a static value within the mapping section, DataFeedWatch will suggest the accepted values for that sales channel, in this case, Google Shopping. Okay, so that's it for now. So I'm going to hit save and proceed. And then I'm not going to exclude any variants right now, but this would be a place to, if you have, for example, gift cards on the site, you could, for example, put a gift card here, and then do title includes gift card and exclude that. In fact, why not just leave that? So I'll save that. And then I'm going to do Categorize Products. These are all shirts and tops. If you had other types of products like hats, etc., you'd have to actually categorize those, but that's for a different video because that takes quite a bit of time. So let me click Save and Proceed. And at this point, DataFeedWatch is going to process the feed and then give a report on what might be wrong. It'll give you a summary of how many products are good to go. So I'm going to let this run and then I'll come back. All right, the feed review is done. And this is one of the best little features that they've put into DataFeedWatch. I really appreciate having this error report, because otherwise you have to submit the feed to Google Merchant Center and then wait for Google to tell you what's wrong with the feed. It would be better to just take care of it here. And so that's what DataFeedWatch is helping me do. I see that I'm missing colors, which is required. So let's see. I want to find issue type, empty field. I'm looking for colors. That's my G10. I'm missing a G10. You know what? I don't even need to find this here. Let me just go back to mapping, and then I'm going to take a look at my color section. So colors, I'm going to click preview and just look in here. I'm actually going to do advanced, this advanced search option, color, and search. Okay, so that's the problem. We've got no color on this boys t-shirt. Yep, that's true. I can see that it's a navy color, so as a quick fix, I'll just add that here. I'm curious though, is my girl's shirt also missing color? Yeah, and that's a black shirt, so I'm just going to quickly add those here, and I'm going to fast forward through this so you don't have to watch. Okay, now I can see that I fixed the issue, and this isn't ideal. It would be better to fix the data on the store. This should really have a color drop-down selection, but let's just go with this for the example. So I'm going to do save and proceed. Okay, now I'm going to wait for the feed to process again, and you'll have to be patient. It takes a few minutes to do this. It takes longer if it's a bigger feed, but this is faster than submitting it to Merchant Center and then waiting for Merchant Center to throw errors. So I'm going to wait for this to check again, and then I'll come back. All right, the feed review is done again, and I can see that the color error is gone. Now I'm left with warnings, and the warning is that I'm missing a GTIN number. That's a global trade identification number. So think of it as a UPC or an ISBN number on a book. I don't have that for my store because these are print-on-demand shirts. What I do have is a brand name and then a SKU number, or sorry, an MPN number, which Google will actually accept that. This is another topic that could take quite a bit of time to discuss, so I won't go into the G10 right now. It is quite important for Google Shopping. It's actually very important, but we're going to skip that for now because it's just not relevant to this store. All right, so now that we're done with the feed, I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to click on this feed URL link. So see where I'm at in the breadcrumb trail. Up here I'm at shops, then trail map apparel, and here I can see all the channels. So again, I'm going to click on the feed URL link, copy that, and now we're ready to finally go over to Google Merchant Center. And from here, don't worry about this. This is a suspended account because I did something wrong at some point, but it doesn't matter. This is just a sample store. So I'm going to click on products. I'm going to add multiple products. So I'm going to see all methods. I'll select English. I'll select shopping ads as the destination. If you see free shopping ads or anything else in here that's useful to you, you can tick that too. I've only got shopping ads, so I'm just going to tick that one. Click continue. I'm going to call this something memorable. And then the scheduled fetch. Again, this doesn't matter how you name that. That's just up to your preference. So I'll do continue. Now this part does matter. So I have that URL copied in the clipboard. I'll paste it. And then I'll come back here. See how we've got that web link. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of this first section between the two backslashes and delete that. This is the file name. It's that big string of numbers .xml. That's the file. A feed from DataFeedWatch is simply an XML file, which is a type of coding language. It's just a markup language that's simple, but we don't need to look at that now. You can just see that that's all the shopping data. Let's come back here. So the file URL, notice how when I put that file URL in my browser, it just took me to an XML file that was public facing. That's fine. It doesn't have to be hidden. You can hide it behind a password, but I see no reason to do that now. So we're just gonna drop that whole copied part in. Again, just to be super clear, this part went in the file name section. This whole thing goes in the file URL section. I'm going to select the time zone that I'm in. This is important because I want to know when changes were made to the feed if I ever look at reports here, and it would be very confusing if I was looking at 2 different time zones. So let me find my time zone. All right, then I'll hit create feed. All right, and now the feed is ready. I just have to click at the top right here, fetch now, and then I'll just wait a minute or two for that, and I'll refresh the page actually. This is how I can see if it took. Might just press that again. There we go. The feed's processing, and I can see when it started being processed. And I'm not going to wait for this in this video, but once you've waited for this to be processed, you'll see in the diagnostic screen information on the products that came in. This chart represents the number of products that were in approved or disapproved status. You can see I've got a big block of red here because my products were disapproved before from some other demo video, but that doesn't matter. So once your products are done being processed in the feed, you'll see status here. You can also check the status of individual products here, and I've got none now because it's not done processing. But really, this is all you need to do to get started. Just keep waiting, be patient. This takes about 5 to 10 minutes, and then you can come back and check on the status of everything. But that's it for now, so we're done getting set up.
All right, I hope you found that helpful, but if you have more questions, please leave them in the comments section, and I'll try to answer them as best as I can. If you'd like to learn more from me regarding product feeds or Google Shopping or pay-per-click in general, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching, and good luck advertising.